Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. Today from Jakks Pacific in their Sonic Prime line, we are featuring Tails 9 New York City as he appears in the Netflix Sonic Prime show. Alright, so if you asked me what was my most sought after action figure over the last year, the answer might surprise you. It's actually Tails 9. So it's not a Marvel Legends figure, it's not a McFarlane figure, it's not a Storm Collectibles figure or Figure Arts, it's not a Star Wars or G.I. Joe figure. The figure I was on the hunt for the most the past year has been this guy right here. So when the line first debuted last year, I remember seeing the complete wave at my local Target. And I think at the time, I told myself I was just going to pick up Sonic and maybe, I think like Robotnik or Amy, and then I was just going to get the rest of the figures later. And then when I came back, Tails was gone. And I'm like, okay, maybe Tails will pop up one of these days. He never did. It was terrible. I never saw Tails for like over a, I think like, I'm not sure if it's been a year already, but maybe at least 9 months. But I never saw Tails everywhere I went. Walmart, Target. They never had Tails. I never saw this figure again. And then I'd try hunting the figure online, and every now and then he'd pop up on eBay for like $40. I'm like, I'm not going to pay $40 for Tails 9. And I'd constantly check Amazon time and time again. He never popped up. So for whatever reason, this figure, it completely escaped me. I saw all the other figures multiple times, but Tails 9 was kind of like my white whale. I couldn't find him. And then one day, not too long ago, maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was at one of my local Targets after work doing a grocery run, and I saw this on the shelf. I freaked out and I grabbed it. It kind of shows that if you're patient in toy collecting, sometimes you'll eventually find a thing you're looking for. You don't always have to resort to eBay or Facebook Marketplace and pay astronomical prices. There's nothing that's really considered like incredibly super rare. Even like San Diego Comic-Con exclusives, they're almost marketed as FOMO, fear of missing out. And you think just because you're not going to go to the show that you're going to not be able to obtain it. But many times over, some of those exclusives, they're overproduced and they're eventually distributed to like mass retail. Like, for example, there's the San Diego Comic-Con Death's Head Marvel Legends figure. That was supposed to be a San Diego exclusive. Next thing you know, it's popping up on Amazon, and I'm seeing it at my GameStops. So apparently they made a lot of those. So, it pays to be patient, and I finally have Tails 9, and I'm going to soak it in because he's well worth the wait. If you're into like the idea of multiverses and different iterations of your favorite characters, Sonic Prime is kind of for you. The toy line is really neat because you get the core cast of characters, but you get so many different interpretations of them. And Tails 9 looks awesome. It's really cool. It's almost kind of like a play on Doc Ock from the Marvel Universe. This figure is crazy. It features 70 points of articulation. That is so wild. And so you look at him here, it's like all these crazy appendages have at least maybe like 7 points of articulation. It's crazy how much is going on with this figure. Other figures in the initial wave included Sonic, Mr. Dr. Eggman, which was one of my favorite figures from last year, is probably like in my top 3, just because it was so outrageous. And Thorn Rose, kind of a variant on Amy. So let's get started. And yeah, finally have Tails 9 in my collection. Okay, so let's get him out. This is a wild figure. God, this is so cool. So I collect a lot of the Jakks Pacific Nintendo figures and Sega figures, and they never disappoint. They're always like beautiful renditions of what they're supposed to like be. It's really like the on-screen characters coming to life in action figure form. Whether it's based off of like a TV show, a live action, not a live action movie, one of the animated features or the video games. They just really hit the nail on the head, and this one just looks awesome. So Tails 9, it's surprisingly a much larger figure than some of the other Sonic the Hedgehog figures. Give me a second. Alright, so I'm going to take out another figure here. This is Shadow the Hedgehog from the mainline Sonic figures, and this gives you an idea of how much bigger Tails 9 is. Just look at the size difference. It's huge. And this figure is just so incredibly detailed. It's beautiful. I love the expression. It really kind of captures the indifference that Tails 9 has in Sonic Prime. You know, he's kind of like, whatever. And look at that. This is so, so cool. You know, it's traditional Tails. You know, he has the two tails, of course. But these awesome, like, Doc-Ock appendages, it's so neat. And they're all articulated. It's wild. You know, these little claw tips at the end move. And then all the segmented pieces move. They're all on ball joints. So not only do they fold, they also roll around. It's such a wild figure. God, this is like one of the craziest figures I've handled in such a long time. And don't worry, these are ball joints, so they easily pop in and out. But, oh my god, this is awesome. It's so well done. My only complaint, if anything, is that just because, due to the nature of the figure's design, he has all these appendages. So trying to get the figure in the perfect pose might present itself as a challenge. And it's kind of tricky trying to get his legs to articulate correctly also. But I don't care. This figure, for me, it's well worth the wait. It's kind of hard to articulate correctly also because, like, for example, with his pant leg here, you can see the knee joint. And it moves independent. It's almost like a Revoltech joint, if you're familiar with that, where it's like kind of like a ball joint with two pegs. So it allows the joint not only to like swivel, but you can also fold it up and down. But the hard thing is that it's hard to align the joint correctly. So as you can see, it's moving independently from the shin and the foot. So I can't really necessarily get the foot to bend the way I want it to unless the joint is completely straight, which is hard to kind of do. So there's some issues here with the articulation, like it's highly articulated, but it's just a matter of trying to get it in the right pose, you know. But I'm not going to complain. I waited so long for this figure, and it's fantastic. The color scheme is really well done. I've said this before with some of the other Sonic and Mario figures, is that, you know, these characters, they're very cartoony. Their proportions are very, like, kawaii and chibi. So you have all these, like, oversized heads, oversized hands. And the thing with that is that, you know, a lot of the times some of these, they're very heavy. So, like, for example, like when I lift his arm up, I could kind of feel it wanting to droop back down because of the sheer mass of the hand. It's so heavy. And then the joint, it's very small. So it's a lot of weight for it to bear. But at the same time, you know, the figure looks very accurate to what you see on screen. So for me, it's easily forgiven. Some of these joints, they do pop off a little bit easily because they are ball joints. One thing I'd suggest is submerging this in hot water. And when the plastic becomes soft and pliable, kind of squeeze the ends together so you could close the gap to make it a little bit tighter. So it'll be a tighter fit. But overall, it's a great looking figure. I am so stoked on this. Again, you know, here's the size difference between this and a standard Sonic figure. The Sonic Prime figures in general, they're just a little bit bigger than the mainline Sonic figures. But they still display well together. But man, this is a figure that I've been waiting for so long. And I'm so glad I finally have them. And the best thing is, especially like, if there's a figure on the hunt for it, I think there's that greater sense of satisfaction when you find it in the wild as opposed to like this caving in and paying a marked up price online. So like I said, patience does pay off. If you live in a collector heavy area where you're competing with a lot of other collectors trying to find toys, it's going to be a challenge. I really envy some of the toy collectors out there. Like they'll post like hunting videos of them going to like their Walmarts, their Targets, and like Walgreens and other stores. And I'm always amazed at how clean and how organized some of these other Targets are across the country. And sometimes some of these places, you know, they have everything in stock. They're not like picked over like where I live. It's a very collector heavy area. Like at one point in time, I think there were like 4 comic book shops in the area. There were at least 2 collectible toy stores, and this is like all within like a 15-minute distance of each other. And there was once a Hasbro rep in the area who said that, you know, where I lived in the Chicagoland area, it's a particularly like hotbed for collectors. So it's like for me to find stuff sometimes it was always kind of a challenge. Luckily for me though, like on my way to work, you know, I'd pass like I think like anywhere between 2 to 3 different Targets and 2 Walmarts. And, you know, there'd be some days where I'd be going off to work like at 6 in the morning, and it kind of provided me an advantage because I'd get to hit the stores early enough before the other collectors. Because I remember back in the day when collecting was really big in my area, you get to like Target and you'd see a line of maybe like 5 collectors. You know, some of them were there for like the Matchbox and Hot Wheels trying to get the chases. But then there were the others that were there for like the Star Wars figures and like the G.I. Joes. And it's kind of funny because these are all grown men. And as soon as it hit 7 o'clock and the doors open, everyone would kind of make like a quick hustle to the toy aisle. Every now and then there'd be the one guy who's like completely committed, and he would just like haul ass and run for the toy aisle. But for me, I was kind of like, I love toys, but I was never that excited enough. I mean, I think I didn't want to be embarrassed either. I didn't feel like the need to run to the toy aisle. So my attitude was, if I got there and the thing I was looking for was gone, I could live with that. But I was never going to be one of those dudes. I was just going to like just run for the toy aisle. You know, I still kind of have my dignity to some extent, but yeah, patience does pay off. You know, if you live in an area like with a lot of collectors, you know, my heart goes out to you because I know the challenges that could be, you know, when you're trying to hunt down, you know, especially like harder to find action figures. But count your blessings if you live in one of those areas where it's not collector heavy and you can find like the new toys that are readily in stock. But I'm running off on a tangent here. Let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.